like mining, automatic, and quarry, for example, automatic income of that will go to the local government unit. Okay, so the plebiscite shall be conducted in the Comelec within the period of 120 days. Okay. So of course, when is the election, right? Every second Monday of May, every other 3 years. And of course, right, why we elect only, although there are 24 senators, but we only elect 12. The origin of that was during the 1987 Constitution. We elected 24 senators and we ranked them. Okay, so the first 12, the highest 12, will serve for 6 years, while the remaining 13 to 24 will serve only for 3 years. Meaning, after the 3 years, there is a replacement for the the last 13 to 24. Okay, so katong first 12, 6 years pa man sila. So, and then pagka 6 years man ang term, so every other 3 years, there's an election replacing 12. Okay, but there are actually 24 of them in an alternate. Okay, the reason is that so that there is somebody, like when all are so busy for their election and campaigning, there's somebody who are still running the Philippines. Okay, so next month by May, second Monday of May, which is the regular election, all will be replaced, but there are still 12 senators who are manning the country. Okay, so 12 will be replaced, but still there are 12 who are senators. So the Constitution recognizes the power to fix the date of election. Actually, it's already in the Constitution, no? Second Monday of May. Okay, so it's also in the Constitution where there is a statistics every 3 years. Okay, so after election, there will be again another tallying of those who are of the population. Okay, census every 3 years. So right now we are almost 110 mil, more than 110 million, and voters are only 50 plus million. I think it's now 60 million registered or more than that. Okay, because there are new comers, or like the youth now are now active in participating the election. Okay, so we are numerous actually. We are not an ordinary country. Our neighbors, Malaysia, is only 20 million at the time when I visited that country for a educational tour. Okay, so it's a progressive country, but it's not a threat. Okay, we are numerous. Okay, Malaysia is Indonesia is more dangerous than Malaysia. So power of the people is the number of people you have is actually your power. What determines a country being great is the people. Okay, look at America. They are numerous compared to Russia. It's only few million. I think only 100 or 200 billion is ang Russians. But United States, because of the laws that if you are born in the territory, you become a citizen of the territory of their country. They have so many. They are more populated. Okay. Now, the COMELEC thus has a residual power to conduct a plebiscite even beyond the deadline prescribed by law. You understand what's the meaning of this residual power? Okay, because that power is also exercised by the president. Okay, so what do you mean by residual power? It simply means that the word itself, residue, meaning all other powers which the president may exercise, or even in this case the COMELEC, as long as it's within the mandate of election, even if it is not in the mandate or in the job description or in the duty of the COMELEC officer, if it's still an exercise of the power in relation to election, it's still it's still allowed under the power we call a residual power. Okay, so in the president, okay, going back, this is explained in the president, no, explaining the executive power and the legislative power. The legislative branch has actually the power to investigate, okay, for in aid of legislation. Okay, for example, there's a problem like sabong, we don't have the problem, so they can investigate. Okay, they can even call all those, even that's the executive branch, which actually belonging to another branch. Okay, generally it's not allowed, but in aid of legislation or inquiry, okay, or inquiry only, if it's only inquiry, um, the executive branch may not allow. Okay, but if it's in aid of legislation, they can compel. But still, again, the mark in the if the president would say do not attend, and the reason for not allowing them to attend is valid, like if the disclosure would implicate the president, like if the disclosure is about military exercise or military matters, well, he may not allow them to attend. Okay, and what power did he exercise? It may fall under the residual power. It may fall under a residual power. There is what we call as the principle of alter ego, meaning all the acts of the secretary under the executive branch is valid, right? Is valid. It is as if it is an act of the president, unless revoked by the president himself. Unless revoke, alter, modify. Okay, that is the power of control of the president over all his secretary or subordinates under the executive branch. Okay, so the Congress may investigate in aid of legislation, but again, take note that because of the separation of the powers, he may not allow them to attend. Okay, so if those acts which may not be fall under that power or any power vested by the president in the enumeration in the constitution, then it will fall under residual power. Why is it so? It is important because being a president, having control of the country, um, the constitution does not actually comprehend all possible powers that may a president exercise. So if it's not in the constitution but that fall under the preservation of a state, okay, and done in good faith, that may fall under residual power, and that is justified. Okay, so you understand now what's a residual power. So anything, look at the function of COMELEC. If it is not within the function, okay, like conduct of a fair and honest and peaceful election, if it's not within that, and it's still in connection with how it will be implemented, then that will fall under residual power. Okay, under residual power of the COMELEC. So that's the residual power, no? So you take note of the powers. Okay, sometimes when a legislative inquiry, sometimes they use it not for legislation or to craft a better law, but for ulterior motive of making them famous in front of the media for re-election. Okay, so they are very wise. That's why they flout themselves to become the head of the committee on investigation of a certain issue. Okay, because the camera is focused on them and they become famous. There's no need of paying the advertisement television to make them famous. Okay, it's a free advertisement when they hear the committee. Okay, it's an advertisement of themselves that people will know them and perhaps vote for them. Okay, So that's how, when you become politician, you have to think of how to save money and think of other moves to make you famous. Okay, but there's life better than that, being simple. And when you go to a place where nobody will know you, nobody recognize your name, so that's freedom. Okay, so sometimes I go to other places when nobody knows me, unlike here, students might recognize me. So you are free when you go to a place where nobody knows you. Okay, so those people who are famous, they cannot as well sleep. They always be thinking that the people who can see their acts, maybe a voter, or he knows that you are somebody, and you have to comply with the expectation, and that is what imprisonment. Okay, it's not freedom when you are always conforming to their expectation. Now, specific requirements: the creation of a local government unit or its conversion from one level to another level shall be based on a verified indicators of a viability and projected capacity to provide the services, which include, again, take note of the criteria in any increase, okay, income, population, okay, take note, and or land area. Why is it's and or? Because there is a local government unit which does not actually require a land area, and that's the barangay. Okay, creation of barangay does not require a certain a land area. Okay, this is the exception. That's why it's called but generally, the qualification for establishment of a local government unit requires income, population, and land area. Population, of course, depending on what kind of LGU that you are applying. Okay, for a barangay, this is not so important. But there are local government unit that requires a number of population, like 250,000 for a district or a province. Income, okay, right now it's 100 million for a city. Okay, income must be sufficient to provide all the essential government facilities and services, okay, and special function commensurate to the size of its population. Okay, what is included in the average annual income? Okay, take note, income incurring to general fund. So this is the criteria now of the determining whether you qualify for such for such LGU or that kind of LGU that you wanted to apply. Okay, so that include the general fund, okay, income allotted through a General Appropriations Act, exclusive of the special funds. Okay, this does not exclude transfers and non-recurring income. Okay, so the internal revenue allotment, this is the IRA. Okay, forms, take note, forms part of the income of the LGU. Okay, in determining whether you qualify for the other LGU, you include the computation of the share of the IRA. It's not only your income that you gather or you receive from as your source, as you source from the pyramid and other incomes you have. That include as well the IRA, which is a share given to the LGU. Okay, so it's not difficult to aspire, especially if you now meet the minimum requirement, because it will be added with the IRA. Okay, the funds generated from the local taxes, okay, IRA and national wealth, okay, proceeds accrue to the general fund of the LGU. So this one, okay, the three, local taxes, IRA, and national wealth utilization, which is I think 40%, no, 40% from okay, given to the LGU, is determining factor, okay, whether you can qualify for higher local government unit, like a city to be up from a municipality to a city. Okay, the funds generated from the local, okay, the exception here, okay, component cities, okay, the income satisfied through the local generated revenue of at least 100 million, okay, so that the income requirement must be satisfied locally be generated of at least 100 million. Okay, this is the case I mentioned, no, the case of 2008, the League of Cities versus Comelec. Okay, here the case very interesting. If you come from Naga and katong 5 cities nga nahimong city, nahimo na pong municipality, then later it becomes finally a city. This is the case, League of Cities versus Comelec. Okay, decided in 2008. Before it's only 20 million, but they pass a law making it 100 million. That becomes the exemption. Okay, the population shall be determined as the total number of inhabitants which within the territorial jurisdiction of the local government unit. Okay, so land area, the land area must be contiguous, meaning it's not that the other part of the land is in the other province. Okay, it must be contiguous unless comprising of 2 or more islands or separated by the LGU independent of the others. So as much as possible, it must be neighboring or contiguous. Exception is if it's an island, no? If there are 2 islands, okay, that can be part of a single local government unit. Properly identified by the meets and bounds or the boundary, it can be distinguished like body of water separates from one territory to the other. And with technical descriptions, okay? What do you mean by technical descriptions? Okay, kanang okay, you know how to measure, right? How to locate a certain or the map. Okay, in the land title itself, you can determine its territory or the boundary, what's called the meets and bounds, through its tawag na kanang mohon. So in English ang mohon, I forgot. Landmark, yeah, to its landmark. It's called PS, right? Okay, it's only now they understand it's private survey. Is that the meaning? PS, because you can see their PS. And ironically, every now and then when we look at our land, it's embedded in the ground and you cannot see it, okay, unless you use map. Okay, and right now there are new technologies to locate for a boundary, so it's easy to determine it, right? Because all you have to do is to look at point 1, okay, number 1, and then you get the direction. And generally there are only 2 major direction there, the north and the south. So northeast, meaning you move degrees to the north, to the right, or southwest, meaning you look at the south, then you move your compass to the left. So it's only north and south. So it's difficult to explain to you here, but the point is that to know the meets and bounds, okay, look at the degrees, okay. So from point 1 you go to, let us say, from point 1, degree 1, naman ay number 1, 2, 3, 4. Just look at the number 1. Then from there you go to from there you count, okay. You will know it because of the description, like 3 degrees northeast, okay, or southeast. So you move from north, you move to the east. So within that direction you can see the next point, and then from the next point to the other, making sure that you can enclose it, because if it will not be enclosed, then the technical description is wrong. Example of that is the technical description of the Cebu City protected area. it's not close. So I think right now it was corrected, okay, because if it cannot be enclosed, then if it remains open, then part of Consolacion and Diluan are the it cannot basically demarcated. So the problem arise a long time ago is that it cannot be claimed to be publicly owned. Now, so the territory again must be contiguous, okay? Then property identified by meets and bounds with the technical description. The technical description is the one I've said, katong land area and the direction north east 3 degrees to point 2 to 3 meters, 200 meters, and the degree is east, north east, let's say 45 degrees, then next to the next point, okay. That's the meaning of technical description. Now, in conflict between the land area and the meets and bounds, so let's say the land area is, say, 2 hectares, but the meets and bounds is very clear. What governs is not the land area but the boundary. That is found in the civil code, no? In conflict between land area and the technical description, then the technical description prevails over the land area. Because it happened, no? The land area might be bigger and you think all the while it's very big, but the boundary is just that. So, but if the boundary is not 200 hectares, it's 2 hectares but only 1.5, then you go to the boundary, not that do not look for other area or okay, because you think that it is 2 hectares, okay, sufficient to provide for such basic services and facilities. Now, okay, the cities that is highly urbanized as determined by law and component cities whose characters prohibit their voters from voting provincial elected officials shall be independent to the province. I explained this already. Example of Cebu City, no, they do not vote for their governor. However, voters of the component cities within the province whose characters contains no prohibition. So how will you know it that the charters does not prohibit? Look at their charter, okay? The charter is the law itself of the component city. If the component city does not state that it will not vote, then it will vote for their governor. It shall not be deprived of the right to vote for the elected provincial officials. Independent component cities are those whose charters prohibit their voters from voting their provincial elected officials. Now, highly urbanized cities, what is the minimum population of 200,000 inhabitants? Okay, so what is the requirement? You need a certification from the National Statistics Office to prove that you have now 200,000 inhabitants. Okay, so annual income, okay, for highly urbanized city, 50 million based on 1991. Okay, so right now there is another, I think, improvement. Okay, they increased now to 100 million. So, but who will certify this? From the city treasurer. So, the preservation of peace and order shall be within the responsibility of the local police. By the way, what department which the police is under? Okay, very good. Okay, so the DILG includes the municipality, the province, including the police. Okay, it is not under AFP. Take note of that. So they are under the Department of Interior and Local Government. So the municipality, LG, all the LGU, including police, Bureau of Fire Protection, BGMP. It's under the Department of Interior and Local Government. Okay. Now, agencies which shall be organized, maintained, and supervised and utilized in accordance with applicable laws. Now, there was a question before whether the chief police is under the mayor. Okay, does the mayor has the power over the police? Oh, can give me an idea. So what's the role of the police? What's the relationship? Can you tell us? Was a background of its relationship? Because you've heard of the news that the mayor said, I'm going to remove from you the power over the police, the mayors. Under the when drugs was so rampant, and police officers sometimes used by politicians to protect them personally. So what's their relationship? How are they going to choose now the chief of police? What's an idea? So is it by the request of the mayor? I think right now no more. Before they can actually choose. Okay. And what I've heard is that they have now a localization. So if you come from that municipality, and then probably you will be assigned to that area. If you don't have bad record, okay, if you have bad record, you will be assigned somewhere else. Okay, women now, police I've heard can apply in their municipality, and they have the priority. So the defense and security of the region shall be under the national government. So only local government units where the police is assigned can exercise jurisdiction over it. But as to the region, then it will be the national government. Now, this is what we call as a de facto municipal corporation formed when there is a defect in the creation of a municipal corporation. So, its legal existence has been recognized and acknowledged publicly and officially. Okay, so what does it mean? That if it's a de facto corporation, the leaders will be paid. Okay, all their acts is also valid. Okay, meaning they have no authority actually, but the one who exercise has a color of public office which is valid. Apparently valid law under which the corporation may be formed. Okay. All the acts and the payment made by the officers who exercise it is also valid. Okay. So example of that is the appointment of a secretary of the ENR. Okay, when her appointment was disapproved later by the Commission on Appointments, the acts is valid. In fact, the salary received is also valid. Okay. So take note again of the principle of the local autonomy. Okay, so all local government units shall enjoy the local autonomy. Okay, it is hereby declared the policy of the state that the territorial and political subdivision of the state shall enjoy a genuine and a meaningful local autonomy to enable them to attain their fullest development as self-reliant communities and make them more effective partners in the attainment of the national goals. So in case there is a conflict later on whether the LGU has that power, always go back to the basic principle or the declaration of policy that the LGU is supposedly independent. Actually, there's no need of intensifying and transforming the government into a federal. But there are still aspects that we need to develop to become more independent from national. The local government code itself is actually like a federal. Okay? It's like a federal. Okay, look at it. It should be independent. Okay? Towards it end, the state shall provide a more responsive and accountable local government structure instituted through a system of decentralization, okay, whereby local government units shall be given more powers, authority, and responsibilities and resources. Okay, if you just look at it, if you look at this policy, it's actually federalism. It is federalism. Okay. So, but there's more things to be done, like creating it into several states. It's probably every province or every region. Okay, and we only give probably a certain share to the national. But right now, the difference is that as to the resources, everything is developed not in the locality but in the in the in the in the national government only. Okay, so there is inequality actually of the distribution of the money. As to the structure, there's no problem. It's decentralized. In fact, as to the power of how it will be governed, but as to the sharing of the money, that's the problem. There's no decentralization. Okay. Now, um, okay, the process of decentralization shall proceed from the national government to the local government units. Okay. So right now, the local government units is accountable to the people. Okay, so decentralizations meaning there are two things: decentralization of the administration and the decentralization of the power. So we're going to distinguish this one before we end. Okay, decentralization of administration occurs when the central government delegates administrative powers to political subdivisions in order to make more responsive. Okay, why is it so? The local government units knows actually their problem. So as much as possible, the local government units should decide for themselves. In fact, the power of the president over local government units is only supervision. Okay, and supervision simply means that they make it sure that the laws are complied. Okay, but as to how it will be executed, it's a discretion now of the local chief executive. Whereas in control, power of control, which of course the president doesn't have power over local government units, is to alter, modify, set aside decisions of the lower of the subordinates. So in this case, the president does not exercise power of control over local chief executive. So but the local chief executive has exercised over us power of control over other lower local government units like barangay, municipality. The governor may alter, modify, or set aside decisions by the mayor, or and the mayors may alter, set aside, or repeal decisions of the punong barangay because it has the power of control over it. The president does not have power over all local government units. His power is only, again, supervision. Decentralization of the power means the abdication of political power in favor of the LGUs declared to be autonomous regions, making them, the latter, no longer accountable to the national government but to its constituency. So, in the guide for the LGU is that, well, they are autonomous actually. Okay, so they are accountable to the people, not to the national government. So take note of this. This will come out in exams and probably the last phase of your study. This may be asked in a comprehensive devolution is the act of national government. Okay, confers power and authority upon the various local government units to perform specific functions and responsibilities. Okay? So, simply means it's already federalism. The principle of local autonomy under 97 Constitution simply means decentralization. So, local autonomy meaning decentralization. So, the Constitution actually guarantees decentralization. Okay. So, the court later recognized that the centerpiece of the local government code is the system of decentralization. Okay. So, any provision on the power of the local government unit shall be liberally interpreted in its favor. And in case of doubt, the question thereon shall be resolved in the favor of the devolution of powers. So, in case there will be a conflict later on as to whether the president has the power over it or the national government can exercise, whether the power belongs to the national government, then in case of conflict, then that power belongs to the local government units. It will be interpreted in the favor of local government units. Okay, so let's jump to another section. Okay, this is the one I would like to elaborate on the discussion on general supervision. Again, the President of the Philippines shall exercise general supervision. Okay, so take note of that word, general supervision. Province with respect to component cities and municipalities with respect to component barangays shall ensure that the acts of their component cities are within their scope of their prescribed powers and functions. Now, listen. Okay, when you say, or how will you know that it acted within its powers and corporations? Look at the local government code. And there are actually enumerations of the functions. Okay? So, right now, I want you to know what are those powers and functions of the local government units. Okay? The different local government units, city, municipality, barangay. Okay? So, it's important. So, the power of the province with respect to component cities, so the province, if it makes it sure that the component city and municipalities and cities with respect to component barangays, okay, it makes it sure that the component cities, it functions within their scope. So, it's important to know what are the powers and functions. Otherwise, the higher LGU cannot punish or determine whether that act is in accordance with its powers and functions. Okay? So, that will be your activity today to know what are those powers and functions of the different local government units. Again, supervision meaning is to power authority of the officer to see to it that subordinate officers perform their duties. Okay? So, but as to how that duty will be performed, it's not within the power of supervision. Okay? So, general supervision simply means, you perform that law, you execute it. But as to how it will be executed, that's not the concern anymore of the president. As long as the duty is performed or the law is performed, but as to how, of course, there's a limitation that should be within the bounds of the law. Still, the act must be in accordance with the law itself. Okay? So it doesn't mean there that although you have the authority how to do it, how to execute it, you do the illegal acts. No. Okay? You have other means to do it. Okay? As long as you can achieve that end, then that's general supervision. So, if a subordinate fails, the superior may take actions or a step. Okay? So, how about power of control? Okay? The power of the officer to alter, modify, nullify, set aside what subordinate officer has done to perform his duties. So, again, that only exercise in the higher LGU, that does exclude to the president. Okay, superior may substitute judgment of the latter for that for the former. Now, um, so the officer in control lay down the rules in the performance of the accomplishment of the act. If these rules are not followed, they may, in their discretion, order the act undone or redone by their subordinates, or even decide to do it themselves. So that's the power of control. Okay, supervision simply means you do it. Okay, as to how you do it, well, it's not within the power anymore of the supervisor. But for power of control, simply means that you do it. If he is not satisfied how you do it, and he can do it by himself. That's power of control. So now, for an hour, I want you to know and to be submitted today as part as well of your activity.